We're at section 132, which covers the verb eἰμι and is in Hansen and Quinn on pages 497 to 499. What we have here is a me verb, and so we're going to go through its regularities and irregularities. It really only has one principal part, and here it is. And if we follow the arithmetic verb rules, then the present indicative active is going to be the first principal part plus these endings. And it's going to require us to think about the long grade stem for singular and indicative and active forms, and the short grade stem for all the other forms. So with eİmι, it's A for the long grade and E for the short grade. And apart from one spot, it's going to follow the rules in the present indicative. So we'll get eİmι, and here's the place that it doesn't follow the rules, and we get A, eἰσι or eἰσιν, and then we switch to the short grade in the plural, and we get εἶμεν, ητε, and iassin, or iasi. So that gives us I will go or come, you will go or you will come, she will go or come, we will go or come, y'all will go or come, and they will go or come. You can see that we have to distinguish carefully between the verb we're dealing with here, eİmι, which means I will go, and the verb eἰμι, which means I am. In the classics business, we call eİmι, the verb we're dealing with in this video, eİmι ibo, because ibo is the Latin for I will go. And so it's a little shorthand for distinguishing between the two verbs. So this is eİmι ibo, I will go. And the one that you've learned before, that means I am, we call in the classics business eİmι sum, because sum is the Latin that means I am. Most of the time, it's not too hard to distinguish between the two verbs because their forms are distinct, but sometimes they overlap. Here, in the present indicative active first person singular, the difference is that eİmι ibo is recessive and eİmι sum is enclitic. You also might confuse A, you will go, from eİmι ibo, and A, you are, from eİmι sum, because really they look exactly the same. So context will have to tell you which is which. Notice, though, that AC, she will go, from eİmι ibo, our verb here, which is the third person singular, is not the same as the enclitic AC, from eİmι sum, which means they are and is third person plural. The accent there will tell you the difference. Now we'll move on to the imperfect indicative active from eİmι. Here, although we're still dealing with a me verb, we're really not going to worry about the long stem and the short stem because these forms are so irregular and specific. So here we go. We're going to get eia or eīn for first person singular to mean I was going or I was coming. Notice the iota subscript under the eta. You'll see it in all of the forms here. Then second person singular, eiestha or eies for you were going or coming. Third person singular, eiē or eīn for she was going or coming. In the plural, eīmεν, we were going or coming. Eīte, y'all were going or coming. And eīsαν or eiasαν for they were going or coming. Here again, it's important to notice the distinctions between eİmι ibo forms that we're learning here and the eİmι sum forms that you've learned before. So, eİmεν, we were going, looks almost the same as emen, we were, but notice that the to be form doesn't have an iota subscript. That's the way you can tell the difference between eta, y'all were going, and eta, y'all were, and also asan, they were going, and asan, they were. The forms that are from eimi ibo, that are from go or come, all have an iota subscript in the imperfect. Now with the subjunctive, we can go back to using the me verb rules, and we're going to put our stem on the endings for the subjunctive that we've known for so long. We're going to choose the short grade because we're not indicative, and we simply put that short grade stem onto all of those endings. Of course, we can't translate these without context, but we get, with the recessive accent, we get eo, ease, ea, eomen, eeta, and eosi, or eosin. With the optative, we're still going to use the short grade, but we're going to put it on the thematic present optative active endings. And so what we're going to get is eoimi, and then we've got an alternative form, eoien. In the second person singular, we'll get eois, eoi, eoimen, eoita, and eoien. And you heard me pronouncing the recessive accent. Again, of course, we can't translate without context, but there's your present optative active for eimi. With the participles, we're going to use the endings that we know for the present participle active, and we're going to add that short stem. The accent follows the same rules, persistent based on the masculine nominative singular recessive. And so we get eon, iusa, eon, eontos, iuses, eontos. If you follow that through to decline the rest of it, you will see eonti, iuse, eonti, eonta, iusan, eon, and then eon, iusa, eon. This participle means going, but because eimi has a future idea in it, it can also be the future participle intending to go, doing all the things that the future participle implies. And in the plural, you get the declension that you expect. Eontes, eusai, eonta, eonton, euson, eonton, eusi, eusais, eusi, eontas, eusas, eonta, eontes, eusai, eonta. As you can see, with eimi ibo, the verb we're dealing with in this video, lots of the forms look like endings with an iota on the front with a smooth breathing. And that's one of the easy ways to identify which eimi sum, or eimi ibo, you're looking at forms of. So it just looks like endings with smooth breathings if it's eimi sum, eimi I am, and it looks like endings with iotas on the beginning with a smooth breathing if it's from eimi ibo, eimi I will go. We still need to talk about the present imperative, which uses the short grade and the endings that we've become familiar with. So with the recessive accent, you're going to get ithi, ito, ite, and iontone, which means go or come, or in the third person, let him or her or it or them go or come. That just leaves the present infinitive active, again the short grade stem on one ending that has fixed accent, and we get eni to mean to go or come. The last things you need to know about this verb, apart from its forms, are how we use it. Attic prose uses eimi in specific ways. It pretty much uses eimi as if it is the second principal part of the verb eṟmai. When you learned eṟmai, you learned eleusomai as the second principal part, but that almost never appears. Instead, when Attic Greek needs to say, I will go, it says eἰμι, not eleusomai. So you can kind of stick it in for the second principal part there. And in fact, it does all the things that the second principal part does, all future forms. That means we get the optative, the infinitive, and the participle that we've just learned the forms for. We get them here and use them in all those future ways, εἰμι, εἰανai, and ion. But we also, in Attic prose, use eἰμι, I will go, for the non-indicative things that first principal parts usually do, which means you will only see eṟmai in the present indicative. For the imperfect indicative, the subjunctive, the optative, the imperative, the infinitive, and the participle, you will use the forms of eἰμι that you just learned. So that means sometimes you need to check out context to decide whether you are using eἰμι in a way that means the present or in a way that means the future. For instance, the forms that you could use in indirect statement can represent either an original present or an original future, and you're just going to have to see by context which it is. And generally speaking, all of these forms have progressive repeated aspect. If you need simple aspect for non-indicative forms, use the forms that you get from the third principal part, eilfan. That's a lot. This was a long one, but it covers pretty much what you need to know about the verb eἰμι.